Good morning, dear students. I am Ms. Navida Sheikh from Brahan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika MCGM virtual class. I welcome all my dear students to another and interesting session. In today's session, we'll be learning something new and interesting from a science textbook. So let's get started. Good morning, dear students. I welcome all my dear students to another interesting session. I am Ms. Navita Sheikh and we'll be learning the next part of this chapter, that is living world and classification of microbes. The very first kingdom that we want to talk today is Kingdom Monera. Now, we need to know about a few characteristics about this kingdom Monera. First, remember that all types of bacteria and blue-green algae are included in this kingdom Monera. Now, your very first characteristic, it is that all organisms are unicellular, means having only one cell. They may be autotrophic or heterotrophic, means they can prepare their own food, like some of the um, microorganisms like Euglena. Okay, then you have heterotrophic organisms which depend on other organisms for their nutrition. Then the next characteristic states that these are prokaryotic cells without distinct nucleus or cell organelles. Means if you look at this image, you will come to know that it is just a cell which doesn't have proper cell organelles. Cell organelles means like how we studied about plants and animal cell, right? In that we saw that there were nucleus, there was a nuclear membrane, there were you could see ribosomes, you could see endoplasmic reticulum, you could see mitochondria. But here in this kingdom, as these are very primitive cells, means the very first cells which were known and which came into existence, and hence this cells do not have much developed or distinct nucleus or cell organelles. Okay, so these are a few characteristics of kingdom Monera. Organism from kingdom Monera are Staphylococcus pneumoniae. Now, these are a few examples of bacteria and organisms which fall under kingdom Monera. Some of them are useful and some of them are harmful because they can cause diseases as well. Okay, so these are a few list of them in front of you. Kingdom that we're talking today is Protista. Kingdom Protista, in this, the very first characteristics of Kingdom Protista is they are single-celled organisms with well-defined nucleus enclosed in a nuclear membrane. Means they are also primitive ones, but they have a defined nucleus, means you could see the nucleus properly. If you take a close look at the image right now, you can see that there is a proper nucleus that you can see in a nuclear membrane. It is not just a plain cell. Okay, so this was the very first development over here in kingdom Protista. The next characteristics here is they have pseudopodia or hair-like cilia or whip-like flagella for locomotion. Means each and every living organism needs to move from one place to the other. Now, in order to move from one place to the other, they need to have some kind of thing in their body or organ in their body which can help them to move. Now, as they are unicellular, they do not have organ because it is only one cell. So they have a hair-like thing called cilia or a whip-like flagella which helps them to move for locomotion. Like in Euglena, you can see that there is a whip-like, you can see by this string-like thing which is coming out. That is what we call flagella, which is which helps them for locomotion. Whereas here in the next picture, you can see that there are small hair-like projections which help them to move, which are cilia. Okay. Characteristic of this kingdom is they are autotrophs like Euglena, volvox, which contain chloroplast in them. You can see that these are green colored and that is because of the chloroplast present in them. The next heterotrophic example is amoeba. Here you can actually see amoeba engulfing another organism, Paramecium, in order to fulfill it need for food. See, you can see here how it is happening. Okay, so let's continue on to the next kingdom, that is kingdom fungi. Now, fungi, whenever you hear this word, you come to a scene where you can imagine mushrooms, or you will imagine a mold like if you have kept something outside, it turns black in color or it turns white in color. There's a thick layer over it, which is fungus, right? And you'll right over there. But let's understand a few characteristics also. These are non-green eukaryotic heterotrophic organisms. Heterotrophic, eukaryotic, these are few important terms that you need to remember. Heterotrophs, now I hope you all remember, means they depend on other organisms for their food. Most of them are saprotrophs. Saprotrophs means they live on dead and decaying organisms. Okay, they feed on dead and decaying organic matter in order to get nutrition. Their cell wall is made up of tough and complex sugar called as chitin. Okay, this is a very important line because here a special word is mentioned here, so you have to remember this. Some fungi are thread-like and many nuclei are present in the cytoplasm. Here you can see a rotten tomato and you can see how fine and minute the fungus thread look over here. Okay. Now here this helps you to understand that they are thread-like and many nuclei are present in the cytoplasm. Example is baker's yeast, which we use for baking. That is a good type of fungus that we make use of. Asparagus, which is also known as fungus on corn. Penicillium and mushrooms. Penicillin is used as a medicine and the mushrooms are used, some are edible and some are very dangerous also, okay, for our health. These are a few characteristics that we learned in fungus, that is they are non-green, they are eukaryotic and they are heterotrophic. The next important topic for today is classification of microbes. Now when we talk about microbes, the very first thing comes organisms. And you're right. Microorganisms among the living organisms, they are huge in number. Okay. Among all the living organisms that exist, microorganisms are largest in number and they are classified as follows. Now, microorganisms are of two types, prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes means the primitive ones, which is unicellular and bacteria comes under it. Whereas eukaryotes have three subdivision, that is protista, fungi and algae. With reference to microbes, depending upon the size of the microbes, 1 meter is equal to 10 raised to 6 micrometer and 1 meter is equal to 10 raised to 9 nanometer. Okay, they are so minute and that is the reason they are called as microorganism, and we'll be studying few more interesting things in. So here you can see this is the very first one, that is bacteria. When you talk about bacteria, the size is 1 to 10 micrometers. Unicellular organism, they are unicellular organism and they are independent, means they do not need somebody, but they are parasitic also. Means they live on some other organism for their survival. Sometimes many bacteria together form colonies, means they stay in groups. Bacterial cell is prokaryotic with cell wall, but distinct nucleus or cell organelles are absent. Here you can again see they are as the word comes prokaryotes, you should at once recollect that they will not be having proper cell organelles. Okay, they do not have a proper cell nuclear membrane around it. Okay, they do not have cell organelles and hence they are called as prokaryotes. Now, under favorable conditions, bacteria they reproduce by binary fission and they can grow vigorously and can double their number within 20 minutes. Okay, so they are so fast growing organisms. The next we have is protozoa. Protozoa, the very first example comes to our mind is Paramecium. The size approximately here of this protozoa could be 200 micrometers. Protozoas are found in soil, fresh water and seawater. Some of them are found in body of other organisms also because they are pathogenic. Pathogenic means disease causing, they are harmful. Here you can see that it is moving. Now why it is moving? Because they have hair-like projections in order for them to move, right? So these are unicellular organisms with eukaryotic cell. There is a great variation in cell structures here because organs are there for locomotion and mode of nutrition among protozoas. Okay, they have these organs in them. Next, how do they reproduce? They reproduce by simple cell division that you can see here. Examples of protozoas are amoeba, paramecium. They are free living in dirty water. Whereas Antiamoeba histolytica, this is one more disease causing protozoa. Then you have Plasmodium vivax, which causes malaria, and then you have Euglena, which is a autotrophic microorganism. As we learned in the previous slide that we have there are certain protozoa which are very harmful to humans and animals. So there is an organism, there is a protozoa like Entamoeba histolytica. It causes amoeboisis, which is also called as amoebic dysentery, which happens because if a person drinks non-treated water, means contaminated water, this happens basically because of eating or drinking contaminated water, which already possesses this protozoas in them. They are parasitic and they live into your body and which produces eggs and which are passed from the body in the form of stools, and that person experiences a huge amount of diarrhea in their body, means loss of water because of vomiting and because of loose motions. Okay, so it is very dangerous. Next is malaria. Now we all were thinking that malaria is a virus, it is caused because of virus, but no. Again here, if a mosquito bites a person which is already infected by this malaria, it gets transmitted to the body of mosquito first. It lives into the body of mosquito, whereas this mosquito, when it flies and moves to a healthy person's body and try to suck blood from it, they tend to transmit the infected blood which is already in them, which is having malaria, into the healthy person's body, which affects the liver of the person, which then transmits these protozoas into the blood cells, and then again, if a person, if sorry, if another mosquito bites that infected person, they tend to transmit this as well. Okay, so it is also a very important thing that you need to remember. Here, the next one is fungi, which is approximately 10 micrometers to 100 micrometers in size. Now, these are organisms that we've already studied in our previous part of the chapter, but let us understand more about it. Okay, they are found on dead and decaying organic matter and dead bodies of plants and animals. Okay, which proves that they are saprophytic, right? And they depend on decaying or dead and decaying organisms for their nutrition. These are eukaryotic organisms. Some are unicellular and others are visible with naked eyes. As we all know that mushrooms or the molds that you see on the eatables that you have in your house or when you eat pickles, you must have seen that that is nothing but fungus. Okay, so they are saprotrophic. They absorb their food from decaying organic matter. They reproduce sexually and asexually by cell division or by budding. Okay, so here you can see how they reproduce by cell division, simple cell division, or by budding. Examples are baker's yeast, which we use it in our food. Then you have candida and mushrooms. Mushrooms are also very well known to you. You must have seen mushroom growing anywhere on the bark of the trees, or you must be eating also mushrooms. So the ones which you eat are edibles, but some of them are very poisonous as well. So you cannot eat all the mushrooms. Okay. So I hope this much about fungi is clear to you all. So here in the next slide we have is algae. Algae, the size is approximately 10 micrometers to 100 micrometers. They are quite larger as compared to the other organisms that we studied. They are aquatic. Aquatic means they live in water. They are eukaryotic cells. They are unicellular and they are autotrophic organisms. Autotrophic means they can prepare their own food. Now, who can prepare their own food? The ones which have chloroplast in them. Okay. So the next point is very interesting. The same related to the first one, earlier one. That is photosynthesis is carried out with the help of chloroplast present in the cell of these organisms. Example is chlorella, Chlamydomonas. These are very few, there are very few species of algae which are unicellular. Okay, but most of them are multicellular and they are bigger in size. You can actually view them with the naked eyes. Okay. Next is viruses. Now, viruses are extremely important to study because right now the condition that is going on in today's scenario related to the pandemic which has spread, that is corona, it is nothing but a virus. Okay, so it is very important to understand what viruses can do and why they are doing it. Okay, so let's understand their size first. They are approximately 10 nanometers to 100 nanometers, means they're extremely small. Generally viruses are not considered as living organism, or they are said to be organism at the edge of living, means we can all they're almost dead but they are not. Okay, but how are we saying this? How can we say this? Because they are, when they enter into your living body, okay, they again start to be like act like a living organism. Okay, and that is the reason they are said like this. They are studied under microbiology because they are very minute. You cannot see it through the naked eyes. Nobody can see it. You need a microscope, and that too a very powerful one to view them. Okay, viruses are extremely minute. That is, they are smaller than bacteria, and you can see them only through electron microscope. They are found in the form of independent particles. Now, virus is a long molecule of DNA or RNA covered by a protein coat. Here you can see today's very important thing which is going on, that is coronavirus, and we have already educated ourselves because we are learning so much new every day from television, from newspapers, okay, from radios about coronavirus, that how it survives only in living animals, and that is humans right now, but there are certain other viruses also which survive only in living plants or animal cells, and they produce their own proteins with the help of host cell. Now you must be thinking, what is this protein, what is this host cell, and create a numerous replica. Now when they attack the human body or any living organism, they attack a particular part over there. Now, say example, we're talking about coronavirus. Now, this virus attacks our respiratory system. Okay, they attack into that system and the cell over there. When they get attached to the cell, they try to replicate. Replicate means they produce more and more of those same cells that were there. Okay, and it is so smart. They are like actually very smart organisms, we could say, because they start destroying the host cell, means they first attach to our body, they enter into our body, they go into the particular region, they search for that host cell, they attach themselves there, they try to multiply themselves acting like they are part of it, and then they start to destroy your the host cell and become free. These free viruses again infect new cells, means the remaining cells which are there in that region, they try and infect those cells also. Viruses causes many diseases to plants and animals. Here you can see one picture over here which is of a plant. where you can see small black colored dots over it. They are nothing but because of viruses, virus which has caused it to look like this. Let's have a look at how this viruses spread in plants and animals. Suppose there's a plant which is already infected by a virus. Okay, insect comes onto it and feeds over it. Okay, we call this insect as a vector. Now the insect vector feeds on the infected plant and acquires the virus. Now this infected vector goes onto another healthy plant. Now inside the body of this insect, this viruses tend to multiply and they can easily get transferred into the next plant that is going to eat from. Okay, so the virus gets into the another plant where the insect had feeded. Okay, and let's have a look of how the infection affects the plant. This is the leaf of a plant of tobacco mosaic virus when it was infected by it. How it used to be healthy leaf, and after the infection, how it looks. Well, you can see the difference. Same way, even in animals also. Suppose if a infected animal is there, okay, and a mosquito bites an infected animal and ingests the blood containing the whatever micro uh, organism which was there, which was supposed to cause this disease. It bites it, and then this mosquito carries it for about 10 to 28 days. This multiplies into in the body of the mosquito, and then when this mosquito bites a healthy animal like say a cat or a dog, this organism virus gets transferred into the healthy animal. And this virus that we're talking about, it migrates into the heart of the animals and they develop into adult worms. And this adult worm reproduce in the heart. You can imagine how painful it is for the animals. Okay, and again the cycle goes on. Understood? So viruses are extremely dangerous and they are very important to be studied as you all grow. In the coming years, you will understand how important it is to study about microorganisms because they are such very dangerous. At the same time, it is very interesting for us to understand them. Okay, so I hope when you grow up, you learn more about it, and I hope you have a lesson. Thank you.
If you liked our video, please subscribe to our channel and do not forget to hit the like button.
I hope this session was quite useful to you. In the next coming period, we learn something new and interesting. Till then, thank you.